Happy 319 Purple family. Welcome to Shades of Purple, a Prince podcast. On today's episode, I am going to be doing my second episode in my series called The Purple Kingdom, in which I talk about Prince's relationship with different people in his camp. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about Jill Jones. But before I get into talking about Jill Jones, I just wanted to add on to the last episode that I did about Andre Cymone. I left out quite a bit about his producing credits. So let me get his credits for you. Okay, so in 1987, Andre wrote and produced James Ingram's single, Better Way. He also produced for Jody Watley's debut album, which Jody Watley, I'm looking for a new love. That lady, he would also, go on to marry her and have a son. But he also produced her debut album, for which he contributed 6 songs. The pair collaborated extensively until 1993. In 1988, Andre produced 3 tracks and co-wrote the track Under My Skin for Phil Thornalley's 1988 solo album Swamp. He contributed to Pebble's debut album with the song Love Hate and worked briefly with Phil Thornalley, producing the single Love Me Like a Rock, and contributed the song Under My Skin for his debut album Swamp. He was credited as keyboards player and producer of Pretty Poison's 1988 album, Catch Me, I'm Falling. Okay, so that was 1988. So he had a busy year in 1988, y'all. So then in 1989, Andre composed and performed, mixed, and produced 12 out of 13 songs for Jody Watley's second album, Larger Than Life. Then in 1990, Andre produced Adam Ant. Now, Adam Ant is a British singer who actually dated Vanity right after she left Prince's camp. So he also produced Adam Ant's comeback album and first new release in 5 years, Manners and Physique. That's what it's called. And he contributed music for Rough Enough, Manners and Physique, and he composed Room at the Top and Piccadilly, and performing multiple instruments on each song. So he also produced and he put some instrumentation on Adam Ant's album. In 1991, he wrote and produced Jermaine Stewart's single Say It Again on his album, also called Say It Again on Arsta. He also composed, arranged, performed, who does that sound like, and produced 5 songs for, once again, Jody Watley's third studio album, Affairs of the Heart. In 1993, Andre composed, performed, mixed, and produced 4 songs again for Jody Watley's fourth studio album, Intimacy. In 1994, he wrote and produced the song Something for Your Head on Tom Jones, the lead and How to Swing It album, for which he contributed backing vocals. So he did some work for Tom Jones as well. In 1995, he composed 1 song to Jody Watley's 5th studio album, Affection. So he really collaborated with his wife, and I think they're divorced now. But he really helped her career and did a lot of stuff for Jody Watley. So shout out to Jody Watley. From the mid-90s onward, Cymone wasn't as visibly active. He worked with independent artists, including St. Paul Peterson, who was, of course, in the family. He helped with some of his work, Blue Cadillac in 1996, and Angel Sessions, which was in 1998, and Jody Russell, which was in 1999. So I just wanted to give you Andre Cymone's producing credit, put some respect on his name, because he really did do a lot of songwriting and producing after he left Prince's camp. So I just wanted to give him his just due, and I just can't believe I don't know what I did with that last episode, how I missed all of that, but I wanted to correct that right up front in the beginning before I get into our next person, who is Jill Jones. Now, for those of you who follow my podcast faithfully, which I'm hoping you do, or if you haven't, that you will start, I did talk about Jill Jones in a couple of the earlier episodes. I talked about her first when I did my review of the 1999 album, because that is actually when she started doing backing vocals for Prince. And she did do some backing vocals on that album, and she also did some other things. She was the lady cab driver, of course. And she also did backing vocals on, I can't think of the songs now, but I know Lady Cab Driver for sure. I want to say Automatic. I think she did backing vocals on that. Her and Lisa Coleman at that time were both doing kind of backing vocal works for Prince on the 1999 album. I would have to go and actually look at the Prince Vault and see what all she did on there. Well, actually, you know what? No, it'll probably say on here in a minute once I get started looking at her information from the Prince Vault. The Prince Vault, if you haven't checked that out, that is a wonderful, wonderful source of information. It's where I get most of my information when I talk about Prince, in addition to the books and essays and articles and things like that I can find about him. That's where I get the bulk of my information, just in case you're wondering where I get a lot of my information from. It's mostly from the Prince Vault, so you can always go back and verify anything that I've said on here, so you won't think that I'm just making shit up just to be making it up. I guarantee you, anything that I say on my podcast, you can find, whether it's on the Prince Vault or somewhere else on the net. So I just wanted to get that disclaimer out of the way. So let's get right into Miss Jill Jones. So Jill Jones was born on July 11th, 1962. And she first met Prince when she was a background singer for Teena Marie. Teena Marie, of course, was a protege of Rick James. And after she kind of left Rick James's camp, she went off, did her own thing, and she became an opening act for Prince during the Dirty Mind tour. So that's initially how they met. And after they met on the tour, she eventually moved back to Minneapolis. This was around, I think, 1982. She moved to Minneapolis, and she became Prince's on-again, off-again girlfriend, as well as a regular on studio sessions. And she sung on many different projects between 1983 and 1987. She recorded backing vocals for the albums released by Sheila E., The Time, Apollonia 6, and Maserati. So she did backing vocals for all of those different projects. She also contributed vocals, albeit often uncredited, to Baby I'm a Star, We Can Fuck, Manic Monday, The Dance Electric, Hello, the extended version of Kiss, It's Gonna Be a Beautiful Night, and Good Love. So she did background vocals on those songs. In addition, Jill sang on tracks that remain unreleased to this day, including songs intended for her album, which we'll get to talking about her album later. She did put out one album called Mia Boca, and I hear that it is fantastic. So at some point, I will also be reviewing that for the podcast as well. But for the unreleased songs that she's on, they're called Rough, If I Could Get Your Attention, Killing It at the Soda Shop, Married Man, Living Doll, My Baby Knows, and My Sex. So we're just some of the unreleased tracks that she's on. In 1984, she had a small part, of course, in the Purple Rain movie as the waitress at the First Avenue Club, and she played in the short unreleased film Hard Life in 1987. So I don't know if that was another project that Prince had. If so, I've never heard of it. But I know he has another unreleased movie project that he did called The Dawn, which he did around the controversy era. So I'm wondering if, eventually if the state is going to do anything with that. That'll be great, if they could do some kind of, I don't know, something. We'll see. Okay, so then, let's see. In 1990, she appeared in Graffiti Bridge, where she played a small role as the kid's girlfriend. So Graffiti Bridge is, of course, was supposed to be the so-called sequel to Purple Rain, but in my opinion, it was far from that. And I know I'm not alone in that sentiment, but once we get to that, which we're getting close to that now, my next album review is going to be the Batman album. So, and then after that, of course, is Graffiti Bridge. So when I get close to doing that, I will do, like I did with Purple Rain and with The Parade and Under the Cherry Moon, I will do a review of the album, and then I'll also do a review of the movie. And it's been a little while since I've seen Graffiti Bridge, because Graffiti Bridge is not one of those movies that I just kind of go out of my way to see. So I'm going to have to definitely just do that for the podcast and then probably not see it again for a while. But anyway, going back to Jill Jones. So her solo debut on Prince's newly established Paisley Park Records finally materialized in 1987. And the album included many withdrawn songs from former projects such as G-Spot, which is intended for the second Vanity 6 album, which never came out. And it also featured an unreleased rock effort by Prince, All Day, All Night, with the cover of With You, recorded without any input from Prince. Excuse me. So, on top of this, Prince wrote original material specifically tailored for Jill Jones. Some of the tracks were recorded in Minneapolis and the rest at Electric Lady Studios in New York with the help of David Ritkin, also known as David Z, which was Bobby Z's brother, which, Bobby Z, the drummer from The Revolution. Apart from With You, Prince was credited as a co-writer with Jill Jones on 4 tracks, leaving the other 3 songs credits to her. In fact, as for his previous Protege records, he wrote all the songs himself and registered them at the Library of Congress under the pseudonym Joey Coco. So he didn't put himself down as Prince. He used one of his very famous pseudonyms, Joey Coco, for the Mia Boca album. Okay, so let's see what else. Jill's friendship with, she had a lot of collaborative stuff that she did later after she left Prince. She left Prince around 1990, right after the Graffiti Bridge era. She kind of went on and did her own thing. So Jill's friendship with Tim Simeon, I'm not sure how to say that, led her to front an English band called Baby Mother, which was a collaborative effort with 2 former members of a Liverpool band, the River City People. The group became very popular throughout the club scene in England and was offered recording contracts from several record labels. Baby Mother decided to sign with London Records, but the group disbanded without releasing a single. Jill was busy in New York helping her mother to fight cancer and asked to be released from the project. Jill co-wrote and produced The Great Pretender for Lisa Lisa's album and worked on a song with Paolo Richelli, for his album Mystic Man, featuring contributions by Carlos Santana, Miles Davis, Wayne Shorter, and Herbie Hancock. Paolo, I know I'm just like butchering his name, so forgive me. Paolo Richelli also co-wrote and co-produced the club-friendly song Bald, her only single release under her own name in the 90s. In 1996, she toured with Chic as a co-lead vocalist. The last show, featuring Bernard Edwards, who died the following day, was released 3 years later on Live at the Budokan. Okay. The following years, Jill Jones started to work with Chris Bruce, a bassist and guitarist who had previously worked with Wendy and Lisa on a record that would be published in 2001 called 2, under the name Jill Jones and Chris Bruce. In 2004, she formed the duo, the Grand Royals, with Ian Ginsberg and released the album Wasted on Peace Besquet's label. So she did a little bit, I've heard several interviews from Jill Jones, and she's like one of my favorite people to listen to interviews about, because when I say that Jill Jones was just so incredible and she did such great work with Prince, and I really do think that she really loved him. Like, I really do think that out of all the girlfriends and women that he dated, I really do feel like he should have married Jill Jones. And had he married Jill Jones, you could even argue and say that he could probably would have still been with us. I mean, she just like, she knew that, he was, seeing other women at the same time that he was seeing her. And, she was just like, it is what it is. I'll do my thing too. She admitted on Apollonia's podcast that she slept with the director of Purple Rain. So, she was just like, look, if he gonna do his own thing, I'm gonna do my own thing. So, she was never under any illusions when it came to Prince and her relationship with him. So, let me see what else. Also, probably the most well-known fact about Jill Jones is the fact that Prince wrote the song She's Always in My Hair, which is the B-side to Raspberry Beret on Around the World in a Day. And that song is a banging song. And it's one of my favorite B-sides of all time. And she tells a story that they had got into some type of argument. And the same night that they got into the argument, or maybe it was the same week or the next day, I can't remember. But they got into this argument. And so he wrote that song and he presented it to her as an apology. Like, well, here you go. I made this for you. And as the way she tells it, she just wasn't impressed. And she did not she likes the song now, of course. It took her a while for the song to kind of grow on her. But she said when she first heard it that she definitely didn't like the line, maybe I'll marry her, maybe I won't. And of course, I thought that was kind of a dick thing for Prince to do. So I understand why she didn't really like that part of the song. But it eventually grew on her. And her relationship with Prince remains close even after they had kind of stopped communicating and kind of fell off from each other. She tells the story on Podcast Juice, on Michael Dean's podcast, on the podcast on Prince, that the night that Prince died, she said almost to probably the hour, because they speculate that Prince died between 2 and 5 in the morning. And she tells Michael Dean that around 3:30, she felt this sharpness in her chest. And she felt like she was having a heart attack. And she went and, called her daughter, and she just thought that she was going to have to go, to the emergency room because she thought she was having a heart attack. But she ended up, taking a couple of deep breaths and just kind of walking around and, but then she just knew, she knew that, something had to have happened, and she automatically thought about Prince. And sure enough, later on that day, later on that morning rather, she found out that, Prince had passed away. So when I heard that story, that made me realize just how close Jill Jones and Prince were. And I just hate that, they kind of fell off. But Prince, toward the end of his life, as we kind of all know, he kind of pushed everybody away. He didn't, a lot of the people that he used to be close to, he, moved away from toward the end there for whatever reason. The last time that Jill Jones actually saw Prince was at Vanity's funeral. And she said then that she kind of felt like something was wrong. She didn't like how, really thin he looked, and he just looked like, he didn't look well. And she said that, it caused her to, be concerned. And she said they had a nice conversation. Actually, it was Prince and Susanna, Wendy, and Apollonia. And I also think Susan Moosey. So all of his exes, of course, came to Vanity's funeral. And they all sat around and talked. And Jill said that she had mentioned, just within the group, how, she was glad to see everybody again. And that she said, I thank you, Prince, for bringing these, these women into my life. And she said Prince kind of looked at her like, oh, now it's okay. Because I'm pretty sure she gave him hell and charged him rent back in the day when, even though she became friends with Vanity and Susan Moosey and Susanna and a lot of these other women that he was also messing with when he was with her. Because at one point during their relationship, Jill Jones had moved to New York, and Prince was paying for her apartment that she had out there. And, she was kind of, doing her own thing and actually, the actress, Vivica Fox, who, if y'all don't know Vivica Fox, she's a wonderful, wonderful actress. She was in Kill Bill Volume 1, the black lady. I know that's probably where a lot of you would know her from. But anyway, Vivica Fox tells a story that when she first left home and she moved to New York, she was staying at this like horrible spot, and she was friends with Jill, and Jill was like, well, you can stay in my apartment, and this was the apartment that, Prince was paying for. And she said that she kept it spick and span because, she was staying there for free while Jill was out. And Jill was like, yeah, just take care of my dogs and, keep it clean or whatever. And so that's what Vivica said she did. She's like, I would, clean the apartment, watch her dogs for her. And, that was my homegirl. So, it was all good. So, yeah, Prince would come back and forth to New York a lot to see her while she stayed there. And, they continued to have their relationship, like I said, all the way up until 1990. Now, I don't know, from what I hear, not from what I hear, from what I read also, that they kind of had a falling out on the set of Graffiti Bridge. And after that, they just kind of parted ways. And Jill kind of took offense to the fact that anytime that Prince wanted to involve her in like a movie project, she was always playing like this helpless, crying mess of a woman. And that's not who she was. And she didn't appreciate that once again, because in Purple Rain, at the end, she's seen crying. And then when she was reading the script, actually for Graffiti Bridge, and she was on her way to Minneapolis, she literally, when she got to her part and where she's crying again, she literally just like took the script and just shredded it to pieces. Like she just tore it apart because she was so upset that once again, she's playing this waitress and playing another, someone who's just pining after, Prince's character. And I don't know if this is like a reflection of who Prince thought she was. I'm not sure, but it just really pissed Jill off. And, and Prince would do little, kind of shicey shit like that, when it came to his women. He would sometimes even have them compete against one another, or he would take a project that was meant for one woman and have another woman take it. And he did that a lot with Jill Jones's stuff, because a lot of the stuff, like I just read, for Mia Bocca was actually stuff that he had originally wrote for like Vanity 6 and Apollonia 6, and he ended up giving it to Jill. And I don't really know exactly how Jill felt about that, even though she probably did the backing vocals anyway on most of that stuff anyway. She also did, I heard backing vocals, not just for Vanity 6, but in particular, she did backing vocals for Susan Moosey, because Susan wasn't much of a singer. And so she did a lot of the grunt work for Vanity 6, because let's just be honest, with the exception of Brenda, Susan or Vanity, and I love Vanity, y'all, but she could not sing. Okay, now she could sing a lot better than Apollonia. Okay, at least Vanity can hold a tune. I'll give her that. But she wasn't, a very good singer, and I hate that. Prince didn't really utilize. I mean, he did utilize Jill Jones, but I really felt like she could have did what Sheila did and got a couple of albums out of him instead of just the one. And Mia Bocca, which is, like I said, I'm going to review that album at some point on the podcast. It didn't do very well because it wasn't promoted as it should have been, not like Sheila E. stuff was. And I just kind of hate that for her. But because Jill Jones is such a genuine person. Like, if you ever hear any of her interviews, you could just see that she's the type of person that she's just going to keep it real. She's going to keep it all the way 100. And I really like that about her personality. And I really hope that someday she will put out a book. But I think by now, if she hadn't put out a book, that she probably won't. Because, Prince has been gone now for almost 7 years. So if she was going to put out a book, she would have put one out. But I think she just wanted, because I know there's going to always be some things that, she'll never say that went on between her and Prince. Things that she'll always just keep to herself. And she has that right to do that, but I think out of a lot of the women that he dated, she was the most genuine. She was the one who had his back. And, just like in the lyrics of She's Always in My Hair, she's always telling me how much she cares. And I don't know why Prince didn't see that as a sign that, okay, this is who I need to be with. Jill Jones would also comment that around the time that she first met Prince, she went to the psychic. And the psychic told her that she was going to meet a man in a black car that was going to change her life. And not too soon after that, she met Prince, and Prince actually rolled up on her in a black car. And so she kind of made the connection. And she just kind of rolled with it, And let me see, what else can I say? That's really just, also her uncle, Earl Jones, was a hairdresser of Prince's for several years before, of course, Kim Berry came along. Because Kim Berry, I think, didn't start doing his hair until like the late, early 90s, like 1990, late 80s, 89, 88, I think. Because there was another lady in between Kim Berry and Earl Jones. Someone else was doing Prince's hair. But anyway, so they also had that connection. And also, Jill Jones's mother, how she even got into the music business to begin with, was because Jill Jones's mother was Tina Marie's manager. And then Tina Marie, and then Jill Jones' mother was married to Berry Gordy's Fuller Gordy, his brother. So Berry Gordy, who is of course the founder of Motown, Fuller Gordy was his younger brother. And so this was Jill Jones's stepfather. So she had connections that she could have used, really. Like, she could have decided to go to Motown. And I even think at one point she wanted to go to Motown, but because of her contract with Paisley Park, she wasn't able to, and I think I'm getting that right, that she wasn't able to get out of her contract. And by the time she was able to get out of her contract, she just wasn't really interested in doing music like that anymore. Because it took her a little while, I think, for her to get out of her Paisley Park contract. So correct me if I'm wrong about that, but I think that's what happened. Because with Fuller Gordy being her stepfather, I really feel like she could have went Vanity's route. Because Vanity did do some work on Motown, of course. She put out like 1 or 2 albums on Motown. So she could have did that. But she wanted to stick by Prince because she really loved and cared about him. While Vanity, and a lot of people, like I said, I've said this before about Prince and his relationship with Vanity. I don't think it was as rose-colored as a lot of people, they make it seem like, Vanity and Prince were just like eternal lovers because they died so close to each other. And and I'm going to talk more about when I get to Vanity in this series. I'm going to talk about the fact that their relationship was very toxic. And I did talk about this briefly when I talked about his love life. That episode, check that out. I call it The Sex of It, which is a unreleased song by Prince. But the episode anyway is called The Sex of It, Prince's love life in the 1980s. And I talk about the fact that, there's not enough said about Jill Jones and her relationship with Prince. I think that is the relationship that everybody should be fawning over. Not the relationship that he had with Vanity. Because let's be honest, Vanity left him. Not saying that she didn't have a right to. She did. But I'm just saying, Vanity left and Jill stayed. So Jill, I think, was trying to show Prince, like, look, I'm not going to leave you like all these other bitches will. I'm going to be here for you regardless. And she was, because from 1982 to 1990, do the math, okay? That's a long time to be putting up with Prince. And he's not the easiest person to put up with, whether personal or professional. So there was not a lot of people. I could probably count on one hand, probably, the number of people that worked for Prince or was around him for 20 years or more. Not meaning, obviously that's not 20 years, but I'm just saying 10 years, 15 years. She was one of those, especially women, that he would dealt with on a personal level. He really didn't keep women that he slept with around for too long. So Jill was around a lot longer than some of the other women that he was messing with and sleeping with. So, kudos to her for that. And I know, now that, Prince has been gone for so long, I know that she, like all of us, miss him every day. I'm sure that, Prince is constantly on her mind, and I just would love to interview her one day. That's what I want to do with the podcast. Obviously, I'm talking about these people, but these are people, Andre Simone, Jill Jones. Of course, I can't interview Vanity because she is also gone, but other people in Prince's camp. I would just love to just sit and pick their brain and just listen to their stories all day. And Jill has done a number of interviews. So if anybody happens to know Jill Jones, send her my way. I'm just like, I don't know. Right now, I kind of feel like, am I really ready to do like an interview like that? What do you guys think? I kind of think I am. But at the same time, I kind of wait. I'm trying to see if I should wait to do my YouTube channel. So I don't know yet. But anyway, I'm just rambling at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and end the episode with that. So thank you guys for listening. Once again, happy 319 day to my Purple family. And until the next episode, peace and be wild. And may you live to see the dawn. Bye.